So President Trump has violated the U.S. Constitution by bombing Iran, a country that posed no threat to the United States. He bombed the country under a phony pretext about its nuclear program, and he did it on behalf of a foreign power, the state of Israel, and its leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is very happy with what President Trump has done tonight. So I'm recording this on Saturday. It is 10:42 p.m. here in Virginia. So it's Sunday morning in Iran, a few hours after the U.S. bombs were dropped on the country. So Kyle Anzalone wrote up a few things for us this weekend, and he wrote up the attack here. So at this moment, we don't know how this is going to unfold. Iran has been warning that they will hit U.S. bases in the region, and I expect them to do that. I do not expect them to take this lying down. So I'll read President Trump's first statement here. He said, quote, "We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter," end quote. So after announcing that he bombed Iran, he says, now is the time for peace. And it goes to show there was, as I said, last week, I suspected that they made a decision a while ago that they were going to bomb Iran. I think a lot of this talk about negotiations was just deception to keep Iran off balance before the U.S. did this. And according to, I believe Trump spoke with some Fox News reporters who said that the U.S. dropped 6 of the very heavy bunker buster bombs, the 30,000 pound bombs. They dropped them from B-2 bombers on the Fordo nuclear site. And then a U.S. submarine launched 30 Tomahawk missiles at the Isfahan and Natanz nuclear sites. Iran seems to be downplaying it for now, saying that they the facilities were evacuated, and saying that they removed nuclear material from there. And we haven't seen the one official statement. It wasn't necessarily an official statement, but I saw from one official Iranian government account, they basically reposted the warning that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said the other day, that if the U.S. attacks, it's going to, they're going to face, Iran's going to hit back. And the way he worded it is that Iran will do irreparable harm to, U.S. assets in the region. And there's a lot of American bases, American troops within striking distance in the region. And there's also the possibility of Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthis announced that they would start targeting U.S. warships if the U.S. bombed Iran, so that can open another front for the U.S. There's the chance of Hezbollah getting involved. I don't really know what capabilities they have at this point. They haven't done anything to Israel, throughout this whole ceasefire that Israel's been violating constantly. But they might be able to start firing missiles again. So this could really blow up into a major regional war here. And of course, this was all coordinated with Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu released a message congratulating President Trump. He said, quote, "Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the U.S. will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no country on earth could do," end quote. So Netanyahu is very happy. And then Trump also put out a statement. He came out and gave an address. And essentially, it was pretty brief. He claimed that these nuclear facilities have been completely destroyed, which we don't know if that's the case. He also said, everything was coordinated with Israel. Said Netanyahu, is great and everything. And he said, God bless America. God bless Israel. Again, just making it very clear that this is a war being launched on behalf of a foreign country. And I don't know how anyone could argue against that at this point. So that's what we know now. Before we wrap up, this is going to be a quick show. I want to check some live updates, but some other stuff that went down over the weekend I wanted to discuss. And this is really, really shameful stuff. So again, Kyle's been busy for us on the weekends. He wrote a few things related to this. So this story, Tulsi Gabbard falls in line and claims that Iran is close to nukes. So Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, as we've seen in recent weeks, the U.S., we knew in March, her testimony to Congress, she said Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. We have no evidence that they're doing that. No evidence that the supreme leader reversed the fatwa on nuclear weapons that he issued in 2003. The way she worded that was there is no evidence that Iran has resumed its nuclear weapons program, that it's suspended in 2003. She also went on to say, they have a lot of this 60%, enriched material. And also that the conversation has changed inside Iran. And the conversation has changed in the wake of October 7th and Israel's wars in the region. We've seen more calls from, Iranian members of parliament suggesting that they should pursue nuclear weapons. But the fact is, no evidence that Iran was building a nuclear weapon. And despite that, when President Trump was asked about her testimony, they say Tulsi Gabbard said, they're not building a nuclear weapon. And Trump said, I don't care what she said. At another point over the weekend, someone said that the U.S. intelligence community says that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon because we've seen all these reports that was still the assessment when Israel launched the attack. And Trump said, they're wrong. They're wrong. And someone said, Tulsi Gabbard said it. And he said, well, she's wrong too. So then Tulsi puts out this statement. She says, quote, the dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake news as a way to manufacture division. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months if they decide to finalize the assembly. President Trump has been clear that that can't happen, and I agree, end quote. So you see what she says there. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months. She does not say that in her testimony, and that's not in the threat assessment that was issued by the intelligence communities. And you also, what she says in the testimony that she shares, again, is that there's no evidence Iran is building a nuclear weapon. And that's what the media has been asking about. They're saying, hey, there's no evidence that Iran can make a nuclear weapon, so why are you doing this? And then she comes out with this spin. And I mean, she had the chance to be heroic here, to say publicly that the intelligence shows, we don't buy this Israeli intelligence that's saying that they're, moving toward a nuclear weapon. But no, she does this. She fell in line to manufacture consent for another disastrous war in the Middle East, something she used to claim to be against. And then another thing, I don't think we have it on the page, but the Gray Zone reported that John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, was essentially, I think Kyle might have linked to it in this story, was essentially just repeating what the Mossad told him. So this is from the Gray Zone from Max Blumenthal and Anya Parampil. So a Trump official tells the Gray Zone that Israel's Mossad is using CIA Director John Ratcliffe and U.S. CENTCOM's General Michael Kurilla to influence Trump with cooked intelligence on Iran's nuclear program. Inside the White House, dissenters have been isolated, setting the stage for a regime change war that could cost American lives. So essentially, and I know Ratcliffe is someone that all the reports say Trump has been really listening to on this, and apparently he's just feeding Trump what the Mossad is telling them. And also, we had a few reporters say, I think Kyle put this in this story. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. There's a nice tweet from Dave Smith saying Tulsi is now the Colin Powell of the administration. The CIA echoes Mossad finding on nuclear program. So here we go. So Sagar and Jetty from Breaking Points, he said that he had a source. This is actually a different tweet. Sorry, again, I'm kind of all over the place. But he said yesterday that he had a source who said that the intelligence... Here, I'll just read his tweet. A senior U.S. intelligence official tells me that there is zero independent U.S. intelligence to back up CIA Director John Ratcliffe's pronouncement that Iran is at the 1 yard line of a nuclear weapon. All of the intelligence is from Israel. So again, this is a war. The phony pretext came from a foreign country, intervening against Iran while Israel is engaged in a war against Iran, essentially to try to bail them out because they can't actually destroy the nuclear facilities. And this was Israel's plan all along. And this probably was the plan all along, that the U.S. would directly intervene like this. So, sorry, again, I kind of jumped all over the place there, but this is essentially just what went down over the weekend. Just more confirmation that the U.S. didn't have any evidence that Iran was moving toward a nuclear weapon. It all came from Israel, from the Mossad. Iran was actually engaged in negotiations with the U.S., making it very clear it would bring those enrichment levels down and recommit to not building a nuclear weapon, ship off its stockpile of enriched uranium. But instead, Trump decided to let Israel attack, to back an Israeli attack, and now he himself is bombing Iran. And it could just be a matter of time before we start seeing missiles hit American bases and kill Americans in the Middle East. And then where do things go from there? I mean, this is just a disaster. And, if Netanyahu's leading all of this, which it seems like he is, he's made it pretty clear that the real goal here is regime change. So how are they going to achieve that? And again, I mentioned that if the Houthis start firing missiles at U.S. warships, the U.S. is going to start bombing Yemen again. It's just, the whole thing is just such a mess, and it's impeachable. It's illegal what Trump did. It's just completely outrageous, and just horrific. And we're on Al Jazeera now, and you can see more aid seekers are being killed in Gaza. The Gaza genocide continues. Every single day they're shooting and killing desperate, starving Palestinians who are trying to get food. And this is the country that we're now going to war for in Iran. So I just wanted to look at a few of the Al Jazeera live updates to see what's happening. Democratic leader says the risk of war has dramatically increased. That's Hakeem Jeffries. Oh yeah, and Trump is threatening far greater attacks if Iran retaliates. So this is a new post from his Truth Social. He said, quote, "Any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States," end quote. So he signed off his truth there, as they call him. So an Iranian official says that Iran, that Fordo was evacuated and has not suffered irreversible damage. I'm going to check Times of Israel live updates, because they always have a lot of live updates. Let's just see what's going on over there, and then that'll be that. So again, kind of the similar stuff here. Trump's warning, a new quote here from Netanyahu. Netanyahu says that he kept his promise from the beginning of Israel's conflict against Iran that the nuclear facilities would be destroyed. So this is a Hebrew video that he put out. The first video he put out was in English, thanking Trump, thanking the U.S. This is a wanted war criminal, and that's who we are letting lead us into what could be one of the most disastrous wars of this century. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do tonight. It is now 10:55, and there's a chance, between now and the next show that a lot of things can happen when it comes to Iran's counterattack. So I don't know. There's not really much to say. I was expecting this to happen. The last show I was trying to be a little more positive, but I had a feeling it was going to happen this weekend, that Trump's whole 2-week thing was just another deception. And here we are. It's just a real shame. So let's hope and pray that somehow this thing ends quicker than we expect it to, and that there's not too much bloodshed. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully I'll have some better news next time. But I will be back tomorrow with my regular show. You could always like, subscribe, comment, share this show, follow us on social media, all that stuff that I always say. So I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.